And so as I was saying, we do record these trainings for educational purposes. So I just hit the record button, and wherever you see me is where what will be recorded. So we'll have different breakout rooms, and the one I'm in is recorded. So just to give you a heads up on that. So welcome everyone to our the beginning of our 5-week Empathy Circle Facilitator Training. I'm Edwin, Director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and I've met most of you online. Yay! Woohoo! Timothy. And so I've been talking with you online. So I've connected with most of you, and I'll be doing the producer role on the training, which is, I'm the one kind of organizing it, bringing people together, sending out the emails, doing a lot of the technical stuff. And I wanted to introduce you to our two trainers who will be leading the training. And so I'll start with Bill Filler. And Bill is one of the designers of the training, and we've been doing many of these trainings together. And also my good friend Timothy Reagan, who's also a trainer. And we have trainees, as you know, that we do these trainings, one after the other, and you can do it, take it multiple times. And we have three trainees. One of them couldn't be here. B, as well as Dominique is another trainee, and Lala will be a trainee as well. So with that, again, I'm so glad you're all here, and we're going to be, I think I'm turning it over to Timothy, who's going to lead us in our introductions. So take it away, Timothy.
Greetings, one and all. We'd love to have all of our voices in the room, even just briefly, to arrive together. And so once again, I want to welcome each and every one of you. And really, gosh, what this is an opportunity to do is to check in with ourselves and just share, even just for 30 seconds, like your name, your location, where you are, and why you're here, why you're interested in participating in this 5-week training to really, from my perspective, to build a culture of empathy. We'll hear more about that in a moment. So just just to begin, just invite us to take a moment and look inside, and to remember why you personally are here. So you can share that in just a brief 30 seconds or so. And I just want to begin with the trainers and the trainees. And so I'll go first. As a trainer, my name is Timothy Reagan. I live just south of San Francisco in California. And I practice nonviolent communication. And in fact, I even host a radio show teaching people about nonviolent communication, which of course is founded on empathy. And I'm also a social worker. And my day job, I counsel people on healthy lifestyle change, helping people deal with physical illness of all sorts, and addiction and stress, and helping folks find empowerment and clarity for themselves so they can take good care of themselves. And so I'm here once again to support a cultural shift. So not just the word empathy is out there, which it is a lot more, but the quality of presence with humans is out there. So that's me. That's where I'm coming from, really briefly. Bill, love to hear from you, and then we'll go to our trainees.
Sure. My name is Bill Filler. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area in the East Bay, not too far from Edwin, actually. I've been involved with the Empathy Circle for about 3 years, and on Zoom and also street actions. What I learned in my long career in special education, I'm a retired special education teacher, was that when kids felt heard, then especially if they were violent and things, the violence went down. And so now my job's not done until everybody gets heard. So we have to get on the stick here. Welcome. And I really appreciate you all coming here. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Bill. Let's see, Lala, a little bit about yourself being here as a trainee in this training.
Sure. My name is Lala. I am in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and this is the second time for me to attend the cohort. I was in cohort 12.A and I really enjoyed participating in all of the activities. I initially was very interested in the Empathy Circle because I found it very useful in terms of helping me to gain listening skills, communication skills, and to really be able to build meaningful relationships with my family, friends, and coworkers. But I think the impact of this practice it goes so much bigger than just one individual. So I would like to take it again and pick up on, some of the skills and hopefully be able to promote this empathy circle to others.
Thank you so much, Lala. And then briefly there, Dominique, go ahead. Let's hear about you and where you're from.
Yeah, thanks, Timothy. Okay, my name's Dominic. I'm from the Bay Area in California. This is my first time teaching. I just, like Lala, took the last cohort, so forgive me, I'm a little nervous. I'm here because the best way to learn is to teach, and the Empathy Circle has already helped me in my personal life with communicating with my family members and friends and just facilitating a closer connection. So I hope you all take away what I have and more. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Dominic. So I'd like to just call on folks, offer you 30 seconds to say your name, where you're from, and what brings you here, very briefly. And Sunil, I would love to hear from you if you like.
Hi everyone, I'm Sunil Sapkota. I'm from Nepal. I'm a forester by education, and why I am here? I'm here to learn to communicate, to learn to listen, and to learn to express myself.
Thank you so much, Sunil. And then next on my screen is, looks like Ask, if I'm saying that right, and Justine. I'd love to hear from either of you or both of you.
Hello, my name is Aske, and we are in London, but I'm from Denmark. And
hey,
yeah.
Aske, I can't see your face. I'd love to see your face while you're speaking. Can you move the camera? Oh, thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah, so why do I want to be here? I want to be here because I want to kind of to have to communicate in another way with my friends, with my family, and with people that I meet. So that's basically it.
Cool. Thank you, Aske. Thank you so much. Justine.
Yeah, I'm Justine. I'm from Belgium, Brussels, and I'm in London. I'm studying dance, contemporary dance here. And I'm doing this because I think it's kind of the basic of human relationship, but that we kind of miss sometimes to actually really listen. So yeah, I want to know it more and to practice it more and understand it more, how to also put it in a kind of, that it becomes a bit more natural, or not natural, but like, that it becomes part of the way that I communicate. And also because I would like to host Empathy Circle to talk about different subjects, for activism, for opening discussions with people.
Thank you so much, Justine. Thank you. Elizabeth.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth. I also took part in the last cohort with Lala and Dominic. And I heard about empathy circles through Pandemic Professors because I'm a volunteer, and I work in communications. So I think it's really important to learn how to communicate better and to actually listen and hear people, just like on a personal level, but also on a broader level for humanity. So that's why I'm here again.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Lisa, greetings.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Battle-Guathney. I'm both a licensed psychologist as well as the coach. And so with counseling, I mainly am the expert in the room. And so with coaching, I'm kind of taking a different vantage point where I'm actually like partnering with whoever I work with. And so I think one of the big pieces that brought me here, even though I didn't know it at the time, is self-expression is a big value that I have. And so I know for myself, being a psychologist, I kind of like to sit in the background and just listen. And so this is kind of opportunity for me to get more comfortable with being able to speak as well.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Lauren.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren. I am in Corona, California. And I'm here because I feel like, I interact with so many people all the time, even though right now it's virtual. I constantly have new people that I'm meeting and I'm talking to. And I feel like having these skills and empathy and, basic listening skills and communication is something that's so valuable. Like, no matter what you're doing, it doesn't matter if I'm a college student or if I'm, 10 years of experience in whatever field. So I feel like it's going to be really valuable to me now and also in the future and like forevermore. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Lauren. And Harini, welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm Harini. I'm in Ireland right now, but I'm from South India. And I am a mom to a 14-month-old boy. And I'm actually transitioning careers right now. I want to be able to give myself more space. I want to be able to give more space to myself and others. And I want to be able to listen without judgment and conditioning. When I say that I want to listen, it's to my own thoughts and also to others. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Harini. And finally, Francesca, welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm from Toronto, Canada. And the reason why I'm here is because I often find when I'm in conversation with people that I don't really feel like I'm being received. So I feel like, I may be talking and then someone else will start talking without indicating that they've actually received what I've just said or shared. And that could even be as simple as a compliment. Like even if I complimented someone, it's like they don't receive it and they just kind of override it. And so for me, part of it is I want to have that experience of being received. I want to be in communication and connection in such a way where I feel like we're both being seen, that the two that are engaging. So, and also, I would like to cultivate more of that in terms of our relationships and teach people how to do it. I'm already kind of doing it with a couple of my friends as well right now, this communication where we speak and we're heard and then reflected back what was heard. And I find that it's really enriching in both ways. So that's why I'm here. I want to really develop those skills and use them and share them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Francesca. Thank you, everybody, for speaking. Edwin, we did hear you speak at the beginning. Anything else you want to add, like why you're here and who you are?
Yeah, thanks, Timothy.
Yeah.
Edwin Rudge, San Francisco Bay Area near Berkeley, California. And for me, it's just the empathy circle I find is the easiest first step sort of gateway practice to building, kind of developing empathy skills and an empathic mindset. And as a practice, it's just the easiest first step. So I just want to spread it as widely as possible. I always say, like every person in the world, if they knew this practice, this as a first step, it would just make a huge difference in the world. So trying to spread it as widely as possible. Yeah.
Thank you, Edwin. What I'm hearing to summarize is many of us are here to learn the skills of connection. We want to improve connection, human connection on both sides, speaking up and deeply listening. We want to learn this practice, and then by learning to lead empathy circles and host them, right? The training itself, we get to hear from Bill, kind of the designer here, to just respond to any themes, Bill, that you heard that you'd like to kind of frame for us, as we heard from everybody right now, before we go into an overview of what the training is going to be. Anything to add there, Bill, or respond to?
Right. Well, I'll be doing the feedback. So just want to say that I'm one of the co-trainers, co-designers. So, there's Lou Wire and Edwin, of course. So I just wanted to, I saw some of the feedback on the application, and people talked about developing their skills and deepening their listening skills, things like that, that were reflected. And I think that Timothy summarized very well. What I would suggest is just pay attention to what's happening beneath the words. The difference between this practice and other practices, and there's nothing wrong with any of the other practices or empathy, but this is experiential. And so as a facilitator, when you're doing the training, you're trying to give people the experience. And it sometimes eludes a very pat description. It can be different at different times, depending upon how many people, who's in there, what the situation is, what the topic is. But just pay attention to the experience, what's happening beneath the words. And I think you'll start to get some of those answers. And that's all for the feedback. And then I'll pass it on to Dominic, who'll tell you about the course objectives.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Okay, so I'm going to give an overview of all 5 sessions. First, the overview of the actual course. So the purpose of this training and the Empathy Circle practice is to create a culture of empathy. The learning outcomes we hope you take away from this training are: 1, that you understand and become familiar with the goals, values, and the core structure of the Empathy Circle, so that you can guide others through the experience. Looking at the script. 2, that you can deepen your experience and skill of being in an empathy circle as a facilitator. 3, that you become aware of your strengths and learning edges as a facilitator, and to learn to respond to typical challenges that can arise in an empathy circle. Lastly, 4, that you leave this training having established strong bonds and a sense of community with each other. Also, that you continue to support each other with your training and growth towards building a culture of empathy. So now I am going to go over the actual course arc, meaning I'm going to talk about each of the 5 sessions. So 1, in this session, the goal is to review the Empathy Circle practice, be introduced to some of the core values of a culture of empathy, and to experience the benefits of the practice. 2, next week, the second session will focus on practicing the quote, how-to introductions, and begin to facilitate an empathy circle yourself. 3, in the third session, we'll demonstrate the how-to again, and then we'll present more challenging circle situations, but only if you feel ready. 4, in the fourth session, we'll get more time to facilitate and discuss challenges that might arise. 5, in the last session, we will integrate your learnings and gather feedback about your experience. Sorry, I spoke very quickly, but I hope you got that. Now I'll pass it back to Bill for the core values and principles of the culture of empathy.
Sure. So the basic rules and how you do an empathy circle are fairly simple, and one could become very proficient about that, but still not, you kind of hear the lyrics, but you miss the music. Just to let you know, so these values are work in progress. It doesn't mean that your value or whatever wouldn't relate or be, relevant. But this is just sort of an overview, so you can kind of get an idea of what the underlying values of a culture of empathy. So the first one, of course, is empathy. It's at the core. Most basically, it means sensing and feeling into the experience of others. And also, we're including self-empathy, is sensing and feeling into one's own experience. So a lot of people talk about empathy burnout when they're constantly give. And so what we're trying to do is create a perpetual energy where people are giving each other empathy. And so therefore, they avoid that burnout. Mutuality, we aspire to reciprocal empathy between all people, and I kind of described that in self-empathy. Then openness to expressing oneself and open to listening to others. And care, having a sense of what's necessary for the health, welfare, and well-being of oneself and others. And again, it's not an exhaustive list, it's a work in progress. but it basically points you in the general right direction. And then hand it back to Edwin.
Okay, so we had had you fill out the form for your 3 most important values. So I've put those together into a word cloud. I want to show you that word cloud just to see what our values in this group are here. And you can see we have a wide variety of values. We have everything from empathy at the core to authenticity to openness, which, the empathy and openness. We had the honesty. Well, let's go through education, curiosity, perseverance, vulnerability, honesty, inclusion, equality, service, beauty, respect. So there's a wide variety of values that we have here. And with the empathy, with a culture of empathy, we place empathy at the center. And we want to see, how do your values relate to empathy? How does openness relate to empathy? For example, openness, the more open we are, the deeper we can empathize with each other. Authenticity is, again, like openness, that you can if the more authentic you can share, the easier it is for someone to be able to empathize with you. And it's, again, with the honesty. With family, it's it'd be great to have a culture of empathy in the family too, to have all the family members be able to hear each other. And perseverance, I like that term there, because we've always said I have a lot of perseverance, that just keep working. You got to keep working at creating a culture of empathy. You can't sort of quit, because, and a lot of people talk about compassion. I see compassion as sort of coming out of, being founded on mutual empathy. So it's really important, or really helpful in terms of, talking about empathy and a culture of empathy, to know how your values and other people's values relate to it. And I'll just give a quick story about that. Is, for me, I try to reach out and empathize with everyone, whatever your political orientation is, social, whatever the background. And so I was in more of a Democrat, progressive on that side politically, but I wanted to know what were Republican values. So I went to the local Republican convention when it was here in California, and I went and I said, tell me about your values. What's important to you? And there was 3 young Republicans that said, protection is important. We want to, if anybody comes and, harms me, I want to protect, we want to protect ourselves. And so I just empathize with them, saying, oh, I hear protection is important, tell me more, empathically listened. Said, yeah, security, we care about our families and, protecting each other and our families. And then I said, then I wanted to see, well, how does empathy relate to protection? And I said, well, for me, empathy is about you're protecting yourself against people who aren't being empathic to you, right? If people are being empathic to you, they're not going to be stealing your stuff, whatever, in your home, or, threatening you. So, and then they said, I guess empathy is important. So, and then it was like, well, what can we do together to create more empathy in the world? So we found that you can find that common value of empathy, and then really connect, I think, with anyone from that shared value. Find what their values are, connect it to empathy, and then kind of get on the same page for creating more empathy in the world. And we had a great discussion, and I remember as I left there, and they shared some really beautiful stories with me, which I can't go into right now because of time. But at the end, they said, as I was leaving, they said, you're a really interesting guy. Anyway, they were just really taken by the whole discussion. I had a really great time talking to them. So next I'm going to pass it on to Timothy, who's going to review how we do the empathy circle. You've seen it before, but we just want to hear it once more as a sample from a trainer kind of explaining it. So Timothy, do you want to take it away?
Great. Thank you, Edwin. I really appreciate that story. That's touching, a connection across, strong political differences. There's really appreciate that. Okay, so today, in today's training, pretty soon, we're going to get a chance to break up into smaller groups and practice the empathy circle. We learn by doing, as Bill was saying, by experiencing it. And so we decided that giving you just a quick example of how to introduce an empathy circle might be nice to kind of get your creative in your own language put together around that. So I'd like to actually model how I might introduce an empathy circle once everybody sits down and is ready to begin. I'd like to show you how I might do that. So I invite you just to watch me. I'm just role modeling what it might look like. And I'm going to keep it brief, but cover some of the main points. Okay, so just imagine if we all sat down together, we relax, we introduce each other, we share some jokes, and we get our tea ready, and we all settle in and relax. And then I might say this: okay, it's time to begin. We are now embarking on an empathy circle experience together. I am Timothy Reagan. I'm your facilitator. My role is just to help the process move forward so that each of us gets to participate. As a facilitator, I'm also participating. So I am in the process with you. I'm just going to be keeping an eye out to help the process work smoothly. Now, our intention today in this empathy circle is this: each of us gets an experience of being heard to our satisfaction. Not for everything, but for a little bit at a time. And each of us gets to listen to somebody directly and then reflect back until that person knows they've been heard. So each of us gets to be a listener. Each of us gets to be a speaker that gets to be understood. And then we also get to be a silent listener where we get to watch two people interacting. Those roles rotate every 5 minutes. So if you're a speaker for 5 minutes, you get to have the chance of being fully heard for 5 minutes. If you're a listener for 5 minutes, you get to fully hear that person as much as you can by reflecting back what you hear them say for 5 minutes. And if you're observing that interaction, you get to do that for 5 minutes, and then we rotate. The listener becomes the next speaker. And that next speaker gets to choose who they would like to be their listener. So we all get to be a speaker, a listener, and a silent listener, an observer. And that includes me as the facilitator. That's basically the process. And let's say we have an hour and a half together. We get to rotate through that whole hour and a half. So you'll get another chance when it's your turn to speak what's really alive for you. Now, the question I'd like us all to speak to today, is my request, is that we answer this question: how do your values relate to empathy and a culture of empathy? That's our question for today. In addition, though, in an empathy circle, we just want to hear what's real for you. So whatever's alive for you, you can speak and say whatever you want. And the job of your listener is to hear you as fully and clearly as possible to your satisfaction within that 5 minute slot, because then we're going to rotate again, remember? So just a couple basic tips when you're speaking. Be aware that your listener is trying to understand you, so it's okay to pause a moment and let them say it back and see if you've been heard. This is a chance for your listener to see if they understand you and to see if you've been understood. So that's one simple tip. Another one is, don't worry about time. I will be timing. So I will hold up a little sign. I'll write it right here, whoosh, and it'll say time. I may wave a little bit. I may interrupt you and say that's time. And then just finish your thought. You don't have to stop right away, but we'll finish our thoughts and go from there. Okay? So that's a quick overview of what we get to do together. Once again, our intention is each of us gets to be fully heard, even for just 5 minutes, on our particular topic today. Okay, that's it. Stop. That's how I might introduce an empathy circle using the question that we're going to do today. And so we'd like to get into the practice right now. So in small groups, you'll be with one of us. And I think, Bill, you're going to introduce that process going forward for today. Is that right? Oh, you're still muted there, Bill. Maybe you missed the button there.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, you pretty much covered it, Tim. The only thing that I would add is that when you're a facilitator, and what is the most sort of alien feeling is the reflective listening, in the sense that you're not even you're not sympathizing or giving judgments or things like that. And it feels strange, and it's not quite like a regular conversation, because you feel, and certainly that includes me, like responding. And so you're just trying to really, reflect as purely as possible. You don't have to repeat every word, but so that's going to feel, that takes the most adjustment. And if we correct you, it's not a criticism of you or your ideas, but it's just to kind of keep you in the process, to keep this flow going. And again, I just would say, kind of notice on reflection while you're in it, what's happening beneath the words. I think it's significant. Okay. Unless any of the trainers want to make any other comments, I think we're ready to circle.
Okay, I put the topic in there into the chat. So it's, again, what is one or more of your values, and how do they relate to a culture of empathy, or whatever's alive for you? And Francesca, was that a question, or? Yeah.
So I'm curious, because the last thing that Bill said was just to pay attention of what's beneath the words. So I'm curious about that, but I'm also feeling like I would like an example of what Bill has discovered in terms of what he's experienced, what's beneath the words. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that.
Sure. Well, I'll oversimplify it and give you the Reader's Digest version, as we say. So one of the things I was a special education teacher, and one of my mentors was a therapist. And what she said to me was that, I've seen kids make a lot of intellectual progress, 2-3 years in 1 year. But I've never seen anybody make more than 1 year of emotional growth in 1 year. And I think that this is largely goes invisible in our culture and our education system. So something else is happening, and I wouldn't want to describe it to too fine a point, because I think that you miss it. Each person has their own sort of inner experience, and I encourage you to take to look at that. And I think that each one of us brings something very special. So I invite you to experience it, and then we'll get a lot of feedback throughout this month to see exactly and try to flesh that out.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we have 3 groups. The first one, Bill will facilitate. The second one, Timothy and Dominic. And I'll join you, Dominic, in the third circle. And we have an hour and 25 minutes, and then I'll send a 10-minute warning before we come back. We'll have half an hour for debrief. And so we shall see you in the breakout rooms.
Oscar, yeah.
Oscar, sweet. Okay, awesome. This is our group. Just clarifying question. Does this read front or back? Okay, cool.
All right, cool. I got a bigger one.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
But no.
So just to clarify again, there's going to be one speaker and one active listener. And the speaker will speak all time, 5 minutes. Just express a thought or two, stop. And then the active listener will reflect back the essence of what they say. So you could say, like, word for word. You could kind of give a summary. It's really up to you. I'm going to add myself to you because I don't like looking. So to model that, I'll be the active listener first. And then I will become the speaker and choose the next listener. So does someone want to be the speaker for me first? Anyone? Anyone?
I can do.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you, Oscar. So the prompt again. So how does one or more of your values relate to empathy or a culture of empathy, or like whatever comes up? And whenever you're ready, I can start the timer.
Can you ask me again?
Yeah, of course. How does one or more of your values relate to empathy or culture of empathy? Or you can talk about whatever you want, just what's on your mind.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Yeah, take your time.
I have taken curiosity as one of them, and when I kind of think of myself in a conversation with people that could be a close friend, but also just a one that I kind of just met, or I find myself, I ask a lot of questions when they talk to me. Yeah, you can repeat.
Yeah. So I hear that you picked curiosity as one of your values, and you're reflecting on the fact that when you're talking with friends, you ask them a lot of questions. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this I see as curiosity, and sometimes I feel that it's a bit silly because it's very small details and it's very little things, but I it's just something that I do, and I feel that it kind of do or can that I'm also interested in the small details of what you are telling me, so I can kind of create a whole picture of what you have been saying, or so I can fit it into, and so I can understand it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I hear you're reflecting on the fact that you ask your questions like your friends' questions that are related to small details, and that you see that as curiosity, and you're relating it to this exercise by, when listening to me, you're trying to get all the small details together so you can get a full picture of what I'm saying. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. And I think that this is creating empathy. Yeah. And I have openness also as one of my values. And I think if you show that you're curious to people, I think that they will also, it will be easier for them to be open to you, so that you don't feel that, yeah, sometimes that you have to, that what you are sharing is very intelligent, or it's very fun, or it's, yeah, that it can be very simplistic, or
yeah, can I just reflect that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So I hear one of your values was also openness, and that you feel when you are curious about someone, they become more open as a result. And this allows the other person to not focus on being too, intelligent or, funny or anything. Kind of allows them to be more simplistic in what they say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Oscar. So I'll be the speaker, and then I pick the next listener. So Lisa, will you be my listener?
Sure.
Sweet,
I'm
thanks.
listening.
Thank you. Okay, gotta think. Okay, I'm starting it. One of my values was authenticity. And I think it relates to empathy because it feels like the rawest form of authenticity, two people opening themselves up and really allowing a deep connection. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm hearing you say that authenticity is one of your values, and it connects to empathy because in its rawest form, you can be open to who the other person is.
Yeah, exactly. And I found that I can be more authentic with my friends and family through this practice by listening deeply. And I've brought this up in past sessions, but for me, I feel like I can read the mind of my brother, who I've known for 20 years. And after doing this training, I've stopped to think, question, what is this person thinking? And I'm surprised by what I hear.
So I hear you saying that utilizing empathy allows you to connect with someone like your brother who you've known for 20 years and really hear what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then even with my friends, with authenticity with my friendships, I find that when I have certain friends who are kind of really argumentative, and rather than hearing what I say, they will debate and say oh, you're wrong. And it feels like I'm not being authentic when I can't express myself, like what Ashka said, without trying to come off as smart or funny or anything. It doesn't feel as authentic when I'm not being empathized with.
I hear you saying that you have friends who can be argumentative, and so you feel like that doesn't allow you the space to be authentic, and that gets in the way of you being able to express yourself the way you would like to.
Yeah, exactly. And with this friend in particular, I started talking about empathy circles with him last week. And we got into an extensive dialogue about what it means to be empathetic. And I've noticed an actual shift in how we talk. And there's a lot of pausing and saying, I hear this point, and now let me add on to it. And it's pretty profound.
So I hear you saying that there's been a shift in the relationship with you and your friend as far as the way y'all communicate once you've exposed them or informed them about the empathy circles, and that y'all are starting to practice empathizing with each other in the way you communicate with each other.
Yes, exactly. And I think he brought this up. I think it's a good point. That a hard point, a difficult aspect of this practice is signaling to the other person, I do hear you, in everyday conversation. Because when you're in a conversation, you don't only stop and repeat back what they say. So for me, the challenge is, how do I implement the core aspect of this in everyday life?
And so your friend made a point that it's hard to communicate, that you do understand or you do hear the other person. And so you're exploring how you can take the core of empathizing or using empathetic communication in your everyday life?
Yes. And where I'm at now, my personal answer is asking the right leading questions and saying, oh, clarifying, like listening to understand, not to reply, but saying like, oh, is it this detail or this detail about this place? And then once I'm caught up, I say, okay, I'm with you. And then I accompany them on their speech pattern. So yeah.
So you have found that using clarifying questions to really understand what they're saying has been the way that you're using that core to really make sure you're empathizing instead of, yes.
Yes, exactly. And then last point, because I have like 5 seconds, but I've become more aware of the fact that I kind of take in messages that are just not intended, I'll react a certain way. And my friend now is just like, I didn't mean it to be like that way. And I'll say, okay, so it goes both ways. I'm also improving myself.
So I hear you saying that it's made you aware of your own assumptions, the way that you're responding, and has allowed for you to be aware of that interaction between you and your friends.
Yes. Thank you, Lisa. That's my time. So thanks so much. I feel
Thank
fully
you.
heard.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm the speaker now, and I select Edwin as the listener.
Listening.
So I guess for me, I know this is kind of a little bit off, but I noticed when you said that you were going to be here, I was a little bit nervous because I was like, oh man, this session is going to be recorded.
Yeah, you just you knew that this was going to be recorded and feel a little nervous about it.
Yeah, and even as I was hearing the other two speaking, like I noticed like this level of anxiety in me that kind of kept me from focusing.
So the anxiety of knowing that it's recorded kind of inhibits you from being able to listen well. So you're just noticing and wanting to share that.
Yeah, and I actually felt really good when I started to get into the listening mode because that allowed me to kind of get to my role I'm used to, which is the listener. So I really actually enjoyed that part because it helped me feel grounded.
Yeah, so you started feeling more grounded just doing the listening because you're so used to listening in your profession. You're the listener, always the listener. So you're kind of stepping into your role, and that feels more comfortable.
Yeah. So my values were family, and I'm trying to think of what the other two, service, and there was one more, self-expression. And so I feel like they're connected to empathy because it's like they all need empathy in order for them to function. Like I can't serve without having empathy. And other people, if I'm going to say self-expressed, then other people have to hopefully empathize, and then family can benefit from empathy with each other.
So you're relating your values to empathy. So, family, they all relate to empathy. You're saying that family needs empathy to communicate with each other. Self-expression, you need to be able to express yourself so others can hear you. And see, what was the first one? Service. Yeah, you need to be able to empathize with people, know what their needs are to be able to serve them, to contribute to them.
And I think it's kind of feels a little bit strange to have to like share because again, I like to be the listener and then not get that feedback back.
Yeah, so again, it feels a little strange. You're used to being the listener, and now that you're sharing, that feels a little awkward to you to be in the speaker role, the sharer role.
Yes, and I feel heard.
Okay, great. Then I'll speak to Justine.
I'm listening.
Yeah, so to start with, just as a technical point, if you could have separate videos next time, that would be helpful because we try to have you be in different groups in different times, so you're not always together. So if you could just reflect that back first.
Yeah, so I hear you say that for next time as a technical point that we could, if we could have different computers to also get to be in different groups with other people and not always together.
Right. And then so with the values, one of the big ones for me besides empathy is the mutuality part. So it's like in the client therapist relationship that Lisa's talking about, you're doing one side, the listening, and I think that's something that's missing in therapy is the mutuality, because a person that's being listened to is not like learning the skills of how to listen to others. And I think that's an important skill to have.
So I hear that one of your values that you link to empathy is mutuality. That you can see in a kind of consulting situation, a person learn to listen, to be listened. No. Yeah, to listen to someone, but not to express in the way that they can be empathized.
Yeah, I was speaking more on the client side, that the client comes in, they maybe need emergency empathy, which is important, but it's good that everyone learns. That's what I like about the mutuality is that, a family is mutual empathy, I think that a culture needs mutual empathy. It's just not people who are empathic get to do all the listening, but we need to teach everyone to be empathic. So there's that mutuality, I think, is critical if we want a more empathic society.
Yeah, so you corrected what I understood, that it was more about when you, for example, get to therapy as a kind of client, that you only do one part of the mutuality that have to be learned in a empathic communication, that is both sides, and that not only the people who can listen or who empathize are the listeners always, and like that everyone get to know a bit all the roles.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what's missing in the culture is that mutuality. So the other is all these values, I can really see how they relate to empathy and a culture of empathy. So the curiosity that ASCII is mentioning seems to be a motivation, like, oh, this curiosity is sort of fun. I enjoy curiosity. There's a feeling of exploration, of learning, of growth, and it just feels really good. And that is sort of a motivation, I think, for empathy. Like now, we're curious about each other, so we want to empathize with each other to go more deeply. So I can really see how that curiosity supports, relates to empathy.
Mm-hmm. So you said that we need more mutuality and empathy in our society, and that curiosity is something that can be kind of an entrance to a more empathic communication because of kind of the excitement and the joy that we feel of being curious, of meeting people, and then we can empathize more easily with them.
Yeah, and when I went to the Republican convention, talked to Republicans, I was curious. It's like, who are these? What are these values? And I didn't know it was protection came up. That's none of the values that have been here. But I understand protection. I want to be safe and I want to be protected. So I could really understand where they were coming from, and it was kind of fun to connect around that and to learn and to grow.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that's made you go to these Republicans, it's curiosity, and that was fun for you to discover what these people had as values, and that then you could empathize because these values, you could link them with empathy. You can empathize.
Yeah, and then we actually got a real connection going too. Okay, so we had a sense of connection, felt like we started understanding each other, and we came actually to a shared value of empathy too, that I was able to connect to their value of empathy. So curiosity about their values led to the mutuality of mutually valuing empathy.
So this curiosity lets you, both of you, to find a connection and to understand each other, and having a more kind of empathetic communication.
Shared value of empathy. We came to a shared value of empathy. Yeah. And so I feel fully heard with that. That's about my time too. Yeah, thanks.
So I guess you listen.
I will listen.
One of my values was care, and I think, or I feel that when I'm meeting people, the first thing that I often try to be on is kind of a caring intention towards them.
So care is one of your values, and this you always try to have in mind when you meet someone. You try to be caring towards them or to them.
Yeah. And I think that it's, I don't know in what comes first, but it's kind of being, for me, it's being on a empathetic kind of or desire to find empathy in whatever person that I meet by caring for their well-being, even if I don't agree maybe with them.
Mm-hmm. So you see it as a tool for you to kind of have empathy for everybody, or you don't know what is coming. No, can you repeat?
Yeah, I feel that caring for everyone's well-being, even if I disagree with them, I think that is very linked to trying to find empathy between us, even if we may not agree or.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So okay. So caring for others is important because it helps to so that you feel empathy for people that you maybe not agree upon with.
Yeah, the one that everyone is good,
mm-hmm.
even if we disagree. It's, for me, it's about empathy in generally with them, I think. And but sometimes it's hard for me to empathy, I think, some moments, because I may get kind of caught by some things that are present in a communication with people that kind of can sometimes make me not be able to empathize.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's hard for you because in some communication with people, you find that you are distracted by something in the communication which does that you forget it or it.
Yeah, and so I think I want to learn to kind of have this empathy, so also this true care, and to remember this in most situations, to also be able to find a connection that is under the things that can sometimes seems more important, like it can be either dominance or kind of power game that can sometimes be.
Mm-hmm. So you want to learn to be better to integrate it into your whole person, and to remember to use it even if there is some distractions again.
Yes, and another value is honesty, and I think that when I can truly be honest, I can, yeah, it can be an open field for more open conversation and empathy, because I'm not playing something. I'm honest, and I think it can be more easy for the other person to empathize and to also feel that they can be honest as well.
Yeah, so honesty is also one of your values, and this you think is because makes you be more open and feel empathy for others, and in the same, or in the same way.
Yeah, that's the fact that I'm honest, they can empathize with me and also themselves be honest as well.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Sweet, that's the time. Thanks.
Yeah. Dominique, do you want to listen?
Yeah, sounds good. Ready
Or
when
no, you did. You listened to me before.
I did. Up to you. You could pick me or another person. Doesn't matter.
Okay, then I take Lisa.
Okay.
Listening.
So inclusion is also one of my values. And this I have been experiencing in Denmark. I went to a boarding school in Denmark. You can repeat that if you want.
Okay, so inclusion is one of your values, and you've been experiencing it in Denmark when you went to a boarding school there?
Yeah. So we were in this school, a lot of people, and coming from different backgrounds and different ages, and coming to do different stuff at this school. And I saw how important it is to be included in the like community at this school, or yeah.
Okay, so you were with a diverse group of people, and you saw that it was important to be a part of the community there.
Yeah, because there was one guy who was a bit older than other people, and he I talked to him about that he could feel that he was included in groups in the school. So this did that he got frustrated and also become very, very violent to other people in a very basic need of wanted to be seen and heard and included.
So there was an individual who was older than most people there, and so he felt excluded, which led him to be violent. And I'm kind of hearing misunderstood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this for me, is very important. Yeah, I've seen it before. This at this time, and I see really how less it takes for me or for others to, or how less they want from other people. It's very simple to. It's just like noticing the person. You don't have to talk for hours with this person. Just simply see the person in the room. Yeah.
So it's important for you to make sure that everyone is seen in the room, and it's not like they're requiring a lot of you.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I'm very aware of this kind of dynamic of people who don't feel included. And I find myself always going towards them and kind of talking to them. Yeah, I feel a bit attracted to them because I've always also felt this kind of excluded feelings. Yeah.
So you feel drawn to the people who seem like or feel like they're outsiders because you felt that yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Thank you. And I select Dominique.
Yeah, listening.
Yeah, I really don't know what to say. I am a little bit curious about your experience as a trainee in this process.
Okay, yeah. So I hear you're thinking what to say and that you're curious about what my experience is as a trainee.
I really do see the benefit of like empathy and understanding someone else's experience. And I'm just still exploring for myself how that will look in the future as I go into this coaching route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you can see the benefits of empathy and how it relates to listening to another person, but you're still curious about how it will benefit you going into the coaching route.
Mm-hmm. I feel this pull, this I don't know, this drive to do something different than I've been doing in psychology. The one-on-one experience is great, but I really find myself being drawn to making an impact in the world in some way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I hear you're drawn to doing something a little more novel than what you've been doing in psychology. You say what you're doing is great. I hear you want to make an impact in the world that seems a little different, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And I really want it to be something that I'm passionate about. Like I'm passionate about counseling. I know that was what my calling was. I feel a little bit more uncertain about coaching because It's newer for me, but I want to continue to feel that same love that I feel for counseling.
Got it. Yeah. So I hear you want to do something that you are passionate about, and you are passionate about counseling and feel it's your calling, but a little more unsure of in the coaching realm. So I hear you want to make sure that that coaching has the same passion that you feel for counseling.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of why that value of self-expression is important to me. With school, with counseling, you have to walk a certain way, talk a certain way until you get out on your own. And coaching is kind of like you're creating this all from scratch. So it's your baby. You do what you want with it.
So yeah, I hear you're relating your value of self-expression to this conversation, because when you're in school training to become a counseling psychologist, there's kind of a way to act, a way to present yourself until you're out of school. But on the other hand, coaching seems to be coming from scratch, and it's really you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still feel like I have some work to do as far as like being able to speak up for myself. So that's like my excitement around this. But I do think like this is providing a nice platform for me to do so.
Okay, so I hear you say you still have some work to do in terms of speaking for yourself, standing up for yourself, and that this is a good platform to practice that, because it'll, force you to talk about yourself.
Yeah, no, I don't have an issue with standing up for myself. It's just the more so like having my voice be in the room, stepping into my, I guess, power.
Yeah, so I hear you're clarifying. It's less that you have a problem with standing up for yourself, more of taking up space in the room and kind of embodying more power.
Yeah, I feel fully heard.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Lisa. Okay, so Justine, will you listen for me? Okay.
Yes, I'm listening.
Starting my time. Okay, I want to reply indirectly to what Lisa said about my experience as a trainee. Relating to what Lisa said earlier, I definitely felt a sense of anxiety when this started, because I just took this training 5 weeks ago, and stop there.
So you want to reply on Lisa's question about your experience as a trainee, and you also felt some anxiety when you started, or when you starting now, I'm not sure, because you just kind of had your training 5 weeks ago only, or started your training.
Yeah, and I think the sense of anxiety comes from the fact that I feel a little more responsibility since I'm in a leadership role. I feel a responsibility to make other people comfortable, but in a room of empathetic people, the energy gets passed along. So I felt as though if my anxiety was passing along, making people more anxious. It was like a cycle. My anxiety made me feel more anxious, and listening kind of has calmed it down.
So you feel that this anxiety comes from the fact that you feel more responsible to make people feel comfortable and to also lead this practice. But in a empathetic people group, you feel that the energy is passing around, so your anxiety kind of also is not passing around to other people, but spreading because you're listening and you go in the practice, so it kind of fades away.
Exactly, yes. And my thought process has been, well, I also want to become a psychologist like Lisa. So I just graduated college and in my gap year. And so one of my concerns after that just happened was, how do I make sure I am comfortable enough with new clients to not freak them out?
So I didn't hear well the last part of what you said. Can you repeat it?
Yeah. How do I stay calm enough for clients coming to me for therapy so that I don't make them anxious?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said at the beginning, that you want to become a psychologist as well. So that's empathic circle training it's a way for you to learn how to be present for the patients or clients, I don't know if you call, for them not to be anxious when they're with you talking about their things.
Almost. So it's more of the concern of, I hope I don't, like the anxiety about making people uncomfortable and being in a leadership role where I'm supposed to calm someone. I want to be able to have a calming presence in my future career when I'm helping people with anxiety.
Okay. So sorry. Yeah. So if the clients come to you about their anxiety, that they can feel with you calm and that you have kind of the right present for them to feel comfortable to talk to you and about their anxiety, for example.
Yeah, exactly. And I have my own therapist. I also deal with anxiety, so it's kind of what I'm excited about in becoming a psychologist is it will, force me to grow myself in a way I've already been doing, but it's in line with who I am. And I guess this is getting off topic, but empathy is very related to that whole career, which is why I'm here as a trainee, trying to get better at it.
So you also deal yourself with anxiety. So for you, wanting to become a psychologist is also about kind of working on yourself and on how you deal with your things, anxiety and stuff. And that empathy is for you kind of a core key of this work of being a psychologist.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is still my first trainee session, but it is nice to meet so many new people. And I know that throughout the 5 weeks, we'll all get much closer. And it's exciting to me that there are so many people from all around the world. And yeah, that's my time. So,
yeah. So it's your first training that you lead, the first training that you lead, and you know that in these 5 weeks we will get to know each other and feel more closer.
Yeah. Thank you, Justine. I so heard.
Lisa, can you listen to me?
Yes, I'm listening.
I don't know neither so much. I was thinking that such a simple action of reformulating what someone says can be so kind of therapeutical.
So I hear you saying that listening to someone else's words can be therapeutic for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's very simple, but as you said, Dominique, before, it can be a bit kind of strange to do this on a non formal empathic circle situation. But I'm also thinking that how to do it that it doesn't seem strange or kind of fake in a way, because I think that it's when I hear someone saying what I just said, I can really every time feel like, oh, they actually really heard what I said. So yeah.
So you're saying this practice is fairly simple, but at the same time, it can feel a little bit strange to communicate with people in this way, but every time you hear your words reflected, you really feel seen and heard.
Mm-hmm. And actually it's so simple, but it's this feeling of being heard and seen. I think it can resolve small frustrations that we sometimes can have, and that can become big when it's can just be kind of resolved with this noting or kind of making obvious to someone that they're valid anything that they would say, or that it's they have a place to talk and to exist simply.
So when people have places where they're heard and seen, a lot of the concerns they have may be resolved.
Yeah, I think. I hope. And I think, as you said again, Dominique, that it's also a way to also work on, because for me, this training was more at the beginning about creating a space and where people know how to listen, and for me to know how to listen and to make space for the others. But it's also very much about, as Edwin said in the beginning of the session, that it's learning also how to make people be empathetic about me, and how to then kind of trust what I say, because I can do it in a way that they will be empathetic. So I can say what it's hard to explain, but maybe you can say it.
What I hear you saying is that you, at first, initially, this was about listening, but now it has shifted into you would like to be empathized, receive empathy from other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with this in mind, instead of sometimes I can feel that I have to prove that not that I am right, but in some situations, sometimes I'm not kind of comfortable to talk, because I already feel that there is kind of something that I have to prove first before that what I'm saying will be heard or valid, kind of. And that in this, if I have in mind that my kind of role as a speaker is for people to be able to empathize, then I need to, I'm free to express it and explain it in a way that can be then empathized to. So it's a way to speak also, maybe to learn to speak. Yeah.
So you feel like typically when you're speaking, you have to prove yourself in order to be heard. But when it's in particular an atmosphere like this where empathy is the forefront, then you can say it in a way that feels right for you, and then other people can reflect what they heard.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
Fully heard.
So I guess I will choose, is it Aska?
Yeah.
Okay. So honestly, I don't even know if I have anything else to talk about. These atmospheres are really like awesome because it's like really open and very like this wide space, but it almost gives me another level of anxiety on top of like more anxiety because it's just so open.
So you really like the atmosphere and the space, the openness, but it gives you a little bit of anxiety because it's so open, or yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that reminds me of the fact that sometimes when I'm the silent listener, I'm kind of uncertain as to what I'm supposed to do. Like, should I celebrate or do I have to be completely like no emotions, not even really present?
Mm-hmm. So can you say that again?
Yeah, so I find when I'm the silent listener, sometimes I'm not completely sure what role I'm supposed to have. Like, am I supposed to be like, have no emotions whatsoever?
Yeah, so you are a bit you don't know how to react in the silent listener role sometimes.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
And don't forget Edwin, we can listen to.
Yeah, it's me. And I can talk to Edwin.
Okay. Could you move your camera up a little bit because we just see your mouth? There's just these bows. Yeah, there we go. Listening.
Yeah, I think I will from the last empathic circle that I was in. And now being back, I can feel how really the difference from being not in this empathic circle and not, yeah.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is that you did a empathy circle before, then you were not in a circle, now you're back in a circle, and you can sense the difference, so the different energy between being in a circle and not.
Yeah, when I'm in my school, at my dance school, yeah, I can really feel the difference in the conversations that I have with people there, and to hear and how I want to share more here than I want to these people that I meet like every day. Yeah.
So you're noticing how the difference in terms of you're wanting to share, you wanting to actually share more here in this circle than you do with your everyday people that you meet in your dance.
Yeah, and it's and I sometimes I try to kind of start in a way I feel start a conversation that is founded on listening, or on listening and seeing and really talking to each other. But I feel how it's kind of, how do you say, bounced away or not received or noticed in a way.
Yes, you would like a sort of a meaningful, deeper discussion or relationship with people, but it kind of gets deflected or it gets bounced back. It doesn't sort of engage. It doesn't happen. It goes into that deeper level, which you would like to have.
Yeah, and then I found myself kind of not interacting so much with people and just going for myself and but and then I feel like there is something kind of missing in my life, and I'm a bit afraid of, or no, but a bit afraid of losing this, or the curiosity to people and the desire to meet and talk to people.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is that you would like to have a deeper conversation, a deeper connection with people, but then it kind of doesn't happen, and maybe you feel some frustration, and then you want to withdraw, and you start withdrawing, but then you have concerns that, oh, it's going to shut down your curiosity, because you would like to have that curiosity. So you have some concerns about losing that. And
yeah, and yeah, then I think about you, Edwin, when you said this about the Republicans, and or that we have to, yeah, that it's something that we cannot not do in a way, so we have to keep practicing and kind of try to spread it.
yeah, so you're thinking about what I was saying with the Republicans sort of reaching out, and you're thinking, oh, what about, how do we kind of spread it and spread so this empathic connection? And you're sort of sitting with it, maybe thinking how to do that, or thinking about that.
Yeah, so that was really good to hear your experience with this. I now I feel more lifted to do it myself. Or
Yeah, so it's good to hear the experience that I had, because now you're maybe more motivated or inspired to do it yourself. So
yeah, so thank you. I feel fully heard.
And can I speak to you, Lisa?
I'm listening.
Yeah, I love this discussion, just, putting empathy at the center and really looking at how these different values, connect to it, because I just see empathy as this central value, and I kind of put it in the center of my life and try to, work, out from there. So I really enjoy this conversation.
So you've enjoyed this conversation to see how all the different values connect with empathy, because you see empathy as the center of all the values.
Yeah, and I had made a note about, I think it was Justine, about care, and that's one of the values that we have for a culture of empathy, the care and the care for the well-being of others, but to be able to sense what supports their needs and their well-being. Again, that's empathy, right? We gotta, and the same with service, like you're saying, we have to be able to sense what it is that contributes to others' well-being and how to serve. So again, that was it's important.
So you see empathy as important for other values such as care and service, because it's hard to do those things. It's hard to support other people's well-being without the empathy.
Yeah, and then again, it's that mutuality of having mutual care, right? Mutual support. So it's like, I think that's what gets lost so much in the discussion about empathy. It's seen as this individualistic thing, like, oh, we have to be empathic as this individual, but it's the relationship. It's not just being empathic as an individual, it's having the quality of the empathic relationship that's so important. I think that's kind of missed, and maybe because we're such an individualistic culture, that relationship part is so important.
So you believe that the mutuality or the relationship with empathy gets lost because of the culture maybe being individualistic, that we focus on empathy within ourselves and not necessarily between people.
Yeah, and I think that's where families is, important too, because I've done empathy circles with my families, and it's getting everyone to sit down, everyone gets heard. There's always so much fight in the family because, oh, I don't get heard in the family, somebody dominates. There's just all these family dynamics. If you can get everyone together and they feel heard, then I think that just helps so much.
So you see that within the family, empathy can be really important, so everyone feels seen and heard, and so that they don't miss what the other person is trying to say within the family.
Mm-hmm. And then I think, what are the blocks? Somehow somebody mentioned blocks that come up, and you know, it's time consuming. Empathy takes a lot of time, and people are like, oh, this is not, it's like, it's stuff's not happening fast enough for me. I got to have that sense of something happening, and they don't take the time. So that seems to be one of the sort of blocks, people being impatient. And yeah.
So you're exploring what are the obstacles that could get in the
Mhm.
way of being of people empathizing with each other, and time has been maybe a big area because it takes more patience to be empathetic with each other and to invest that time.
Yeah, I just kind of wonder how to overcome the blocks, you know, that, you know, if we want to create a more empathic society, there's so many blocks, and how to overcome those blocks. I think there was Stephen Covey who did the leadership talking. He said, it's so much more important to have that time to begin with, to work through kind of problems before they get huge. Because once they get huge, it's hugely time consuming. Look at our culture, is so dysfunctional, and it's such a waste of time what's happening in our culture, right? So it's like short term, oh, I got to get busy, I got to get busy. And then you, in the long term, it's like totally inefficient. Whereas if you just spend the time up front hearing each other, you know, it just saves so much time in the long term. For, yeah.
So you find yourself reflecting on how to handle those blocks that get in the way, um, because information such as Covey's talk, where it's like people don't want to invest that short time frame, but then in the long term, they're going to have to invest more time.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thanks.
Thank you. So I select Justine.
Yes, I'm listening.
I think Edwin kind of hit me in the heart when he talked about like family and fully seen, because that's one area for me where like I even was talking to my sisters and was like, y'all don't see me, y'all don't acknowledge me. And then they started to try to see me, acknowledge me. And I was like, what are y'all doing? This is so scary.
So when Edwin talked about family, it really recalled you of an area where you would like more of this empathy, that you said to your sisters that you wanted to be more seen and heard, and when it happened you actually were so not used to it that it felt like so strange and you didn't recognize this.
Yeah. And I think that's the same thing here, because I was actually giving myself a test of like, can you talk more? And I noticed the last time I started to talk less.
So for you being in this empathy circle, I'm not sure I understand, but it's a test for you to see if you can actually talk more, express yourself more. And the last empathy circle you participated, you actually talked less.
Well, actually, I'm talking about this one. Like, as I was like going through the rounds, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to increase my talking. But then the more I talked, I was like, I really don't have much more to say.
Yeah, so you're talking actually about this circle and that you are kind of pushing yourself to speak more each round, that it's your turn, but then you realize that you speak less and less.
Mm-hmm. And I guess now I kind of have a mental struggle in my mind about like, I'm also interested in mindfulness and how these two are going to intertwine with each other.
So you have a kind of now a question in your head about how mindfulness and speaking and empathying can coexist together.
Exactly. Because for me, mindfulness is about being fully present, and a lot of times associated with more of the body experience, even though it's the full system. Um, and listening, I think that's where I'm getting lost. I'm getting lost in like how those two dynamics work together.
Yeah, so for you, mindfulness is about being present to what is happening in the body and in the whole system. And you are getting a bit lost to how you can kind of stay in this state of being present while listening.
Yeah, and I think the truth is I already do it. It's almost like when people underestimate their superpower. Like I feel like I'm really good at being present with listening. So maybe that's a piece of the reason why I'm getting lost.
So I hear that you feel comfortable to listen to people and like really be in that presence of seeing their kind of hidden powers. So you think that maybe that's why you were lost in the thought process about this, because you're actually already doing it kind of naturally.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Dominique, you want to be my listener?
Yeah, of course. Whenever you're ready.
There's a lot of things that when I'm listening to people I want to say, and then when I have to talk I kind of forgot because I also get a bit pressure that I have to say something.
So you have a lot of replies to a lot of comments that we've made, but when it comes time to speak, you kind of forget because there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I think there is something with the rush to want to react, and then when you are actually, you have the space to say what you maybe wanted to say or something, that's the moment where I feel that I don't want to take this space that is given to me, or
So I
can repeat.
I hear like at first there's this rush to react to what people are saying, but then once you're given the space to, there's this feeling of not wanting to take up the space that is given.
Yeah, and as Edwin was talking about timing, and how to take the time, and how we are actually kind of filling up the time as much as we can, instead of taking sometimes some space and time to speak and to build this empathetic communication. It kind of needs this slowing down of time to give this space. And like now maybe it's enough for now.
Okay, yeah. So
For you,
I hear you're connecting to what Edwin said about time, and that relating to your experience of trying to fill up time and stay busy, and kind of less so dealing with empathic relationships, and that you need to slow down the time to really listen to someone. Is that right?
yeah, yes, and that now also thinking about this, I'm kind of allowing myself to take time to think and say, I feel that I can actually take some time to think and speak.
So after reflecting on that, I hear that you feel as though you can now take the time to slow down and think about, reflect on what you want to say. Is that right?
Yes. And so, I think it's an important point of building a more empathic society, to see the time in a different way, or to slow down a bit, and give time to people, because it's not, give time or space, it's not so easy, as I said before, to accept maybe this time for yourself and this space kind of, but to train to accept this for ourselves as well, that I can take this, and if it's empty, it's empty, but it's mine at this moment, kind of.
Yeah, so I hear you're relating this to building a culture of empathy and thinking that it's necessary to re-examine how we think of time and even slow down and take some more time for ourselves, and be okay if nothing comes up, but acknowledge that it's, a me time thing. And that, yeah.
Yeah, and that this should be kind of a human right, actually, or being a bit more included in general in the society.
Yeah, so here you're saying it should be a human right, or just more generally accepted in society to take the time for yourself. And
yeah,
here's your time.
Fully heard, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess I'll speak with Edwin. I don't know if I've talked to you yet. Will you listen to me?
Yeah, just gonna send out a 10-minute to closing broadcast. There we go.
Sweet, sounds good.
Listening.
Cool. I wanted to reply to Lisa's question a while ago about passive listening, and kind of, I guess, share as a speaker, I love it when the passive listeners are like nodding or smiling with what I say. So it shows that there's more engagement throughout the whole circle.
Yeah, so you're saying that around Lisa, what she's saying about what do I do as a silent listener, and you just sharing that you enjoy seeing reaction from, if they're nodding or smiling or just some kind of reaction that you feel there's some kind of more involvement there.
Yeah, because what I love about these circles is it's I'm talking to Edwin now, but I'm also talking to everyone, a group of four other people at the same time, so it's this feeling of connection that is, I don't know, bigger connection.
So it's more than just you talking, it's about a sense of connection with others, and sounds like you value that or enjoy that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think my love language is empathy. My mom's a very empathetic and present person, and quality time is my love language. So I feel very, I love these talks, just when I get to connect, especially in the pandemic, a year of isolation, I like it a lot.
So I think I'm hearing that your mother's a very empathic person. You have these empathic talks, and you really value the quality of that, and it's really important to you, and especially now in this pandemic time of isolation, you really value, so that you value these dialogues too.
Yeah, and it just all my personal relationships too, all my friends. I'm very grateful for the people in my life right now. I know I'm very, privileged to have friends that I can see right now and have I'm vaccinated, which is great. So, after this, I'm going to see my friends. I'm just really excited about that. Also, just glad that today is just packed with a lot of connection.
So you just really value human connection. You have your friends as connection, your mother connection, your connection here, and it's like a life full of connection. Really appreciate that and value that.
Yeah,
grateful
and
for it.
Exactly, yeah, and that makes me excited for the future. As for career, I'm obsessed about psychology nowadays, but the future I see is one filled with connection and empathy, and so I just really love this activity because it's in line with who I am and who I want to be.
Yeah, so the circle that we're doing here is really in line with who you are and what you want for your future, and you see a future of this type of empathic connection, and sounds like you're really looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. And so one challenge for me is how do I best prepare for this so that I'm fully present for everyone? Like how do I, eat the right food, drink the right, coffee, so I'm not drained and jittery. Like today I was very jittery, I am. And how do I make sure that everyone around me is comfortable enough to share and sit into their bodies and take that space? So that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, so what you're thinking about is creating this empathic connection field of empathic connection. How can you create spaces for that, as well as prepare yourself, your own body, so you're not jittery from coffee, and you're healthy because you've eaten well. So it all kind of contributes to creating this this connection with people.
Yeah. So that's the last thought is, as I'm doing this training, if the people around me don't feel heard, it's like I didn't do my job. So I want to make sure that everyone has the ability and chance to really just share all they can.
So you really want to do your part to create an environment where everyone feels that they can share everything, all that they can and would like to.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you, Edwin. I feel heard.
Great. Then see how we got in time. 5 minutes, so 4 minutes. ASCII, can I speak to you?
Yep, I listen.
Yeah, what was coming up for me, I'd made some notes about the mindfulness and sort of what is the relationship of empathy and mindfulness. And so I was going to talk about that. I find that the mindfulness community seems to focus on meditation as sort of like this core practice. And so I thought I'd talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you say that you pick up on the mindfulness that Lisa talked about, and you want to talk about that now.
Yeah, and the relationship with empathy. For me, empathy, or what we're doing here, is sort of a form of mutual meditation, right? It's relational meditation. So with meditation, you go off by yourself. Generally, you kind of focus on your body, yourself, and I find that what we're doing here is sort of a meditation in community. So yeah.
So you you see that mindfulness is about meditating on your own, but this is actually meditating for in a bigger space with more people, in a community.
In relationship, where it's a relational meditation, and because I find if you just meditate, I know plenty of people that just meditate, but they can't have they're not that good at relationships, right? It's like you can meditate all you want, and it's not going to necessarily help you in terms of how you relate to people, effectively. So, and I think that the empathic listening helps, this practice sort of helps you relate better.
Mm-hmm. So I hear you saying that meditating doesn't get you better in relationship to other people. So you can meditate as lot as you want, but you kind of still miss this tool and this empathy.
Yeah, the relational skills. It might calm you down, might get you a bit centered. Maybe that'll help, with meditation. But it's like there's real practical steps to how we relate to each other, and I think we need that. We need those. We need to develop those skills, and also to make it a cultural norm. I think that's why I talk about a culture of empathy and want to get the Congress and politicians to do it, and push it into the social sphere. So it's just not like us here, in our own little groups, but I want sort of an activist, social activism to get like I said, politicians and the cultural leaders to be doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I hear you that you really believe in this culture of empathy, and want to put it into politics and into to the whole culture.
Yeah, into these social conflicts that are happening all over. So, you know, here in Berkeley, we took the empathy tent to when the left, the political right came, and then the left counter demonstrates. We take the empathy tent and say, hey, we'll listen to both of you, you know, and how about you listen to each other? We'll help facilitate that. So we're out there in public advocating for this, I think. Right. So yeah.
So you used it in your area to kind of in between two parties, or to yeah,
and there's so many other spaces like that too. So that's my time. I take up my thing. We got 1 minute left. I'll close the room. So maybe I'll just hit the button now. So closing all rooms. The people will be jumping in. We have about 1 minute before we're taken into the main room.
Yeah. Do we have any thoughts on how that was? Just a quick small group debrief.
4 people gives a lot of space to speak.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. Justine, Oscar, any thoughts?
Yeah, I just love it. Yeah, it's really great. I really want to use it to in my own relationship to the people that I already know, to see how different it can be, or what comes out of it in a way. Yeah.
Thank you, Oscar. Justine?
Yes.
2 seconds.
Okay, I'll wait for everyone to get back, but I'll be leading the full group debrief in a second.
Dominic, your microphone's a little bit muffled there. I'm not sure.
Oh, really?
Temporary. Oh, that's better now. Yeah, if you speak a little
Better?
louder. Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So Bill, in your group, did Lauren drop out?
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
happened?
Lauren she had to do like something for her job, but she'll be back.
Okay. All right, Dominic.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm going to copy and paste the prompt. It's just everyone will take 1 minute and respond.
Oh, really? Okay, it's wrapping up.
Okay. Any learnings? I'm going to call on people. How did one of your values relate to empathy and a culture of empathy? Just kind of a debrief of how your circle went as well. So 1 minute for each. I will call on people on my screen. Elizabeth, can you go first?
Yes. So one of the values that I talked about was authenticity. It's really important to me, and it relates to empathy. I think because, as somebody mentioned before, it's hard to listen empathically to somebody if they're not being authentic. And you can't really expect somebody to empathically listen to you if you're not being authentic. I also, it connects for me because I have a hard time being authentic with people if I don't, like if I start out being authentic and then I don't feel like they're really receiving what I'm saying or listening, then I sort of close up. And that also leads me to not really want to talk to them anymore because I value authenticity so much. If I can't be authentic with somebody, then I don't really want to talk to them. So it's sort of a vicious circle where if somebody is not empathetic to me in our conversation, then I just end up walling myself off and like not pursuing conversation with that person anymore.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Sunil, am I saying your name right?
Oh, yeah, for me, like I chose responsibility and respect. And I want like if you are responsible enough to someone, if you hear someone, and if you hear someone, and if you do not get respect for that hearing and respect for that hearing, or like being with them, then is it really necessary to be empathic, or does our empathy or the connection to the empathy makes sense, or can we go the way we are going, being empathic or respecting and feeling our responsibility and respecting others' values for being empathic, or I am like we can be empathic or not, I don't know, like, yeah.
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Sunil. Harini, am I saying it?
Yeah, I had mentioned one of my values as vulnerability. We didn't talk about vulnerability, but in our breakout room, we were all vulnerable. We shared, we were open, we shared authentically, and we were able to connect. We all, by the end of it, we all felt nourished and we all felt listened to and heard. And it was a wonderful experience. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Awesome. Thank you, Harini. Lisa?
Yeah, so I guess for me, one of my values was self-expression. And as I think my group saw, like that can be an area where I don't necessarily shine as much. So it's the struggle of not necessarily just me empathizing, but allowing other people to empathize with me, which is not my strong suit. So this will be fun to see how these next couple of days go.
Thank you, Lisa. Justine.
Yeah. What my values were: care and honesty and curiosity. And I realized, talking about all this in our group, that that I can, like, by kind of shifting the way I feel in a conversation, that sometimes can be a bit difficult, because yeah, as who said, I remember who said, she's not there anymore, but she talked about authenticity and this kind of feeling that you have some empathy from the other and or space, that you can feel that you are not being authentic because you kind of restrict yourself to express because you don't feel comfortable and stuff. And if I shift my attention more towards trying to making myself understood and understandable to be empathized to, then I can also express myself in a way that is more true or more easy, because I really try to kind of have this connection between each other and not to try to make myself have a place or being in a position where I kind of manage something. No, it's just about kind of understand each other. Yeah.
Sweet. Thank you, Justine. Oscar?
Yeah. I want to say something, Ethan, sorry. Edwin was talking about time in our room, and it made me realize that this empathy takes time. So this I have to remember in my daily life. because at the moment I feel that I have not given up on some of the areas in my with the people that I meet in my daily life. So this was very important for me to hear or be reminded about that I have to I cannot step out or I have to keep practicing or keep doing this in a way, even if it takes time.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashka. Francesca?
Hi. So for me, one of my words was communication. And what I noticed particularly in this particular group and sharing, I had asked a question about like, what if I don't feel like I'm really being fully heard, even though it kind of some of the words or like the words are being reflected back, but I'm not really getting gotten. And so a little bit of awareness about just being ourselves and just being able to have the courage, but also the options of just correcting, like not even correcting, but just saying something, no, that's not really it, and then sharing again. It's really helping me to build more confidence in being able to communicate, like to be able to see where if I'm not feeling like I'm really being heard, that it's okay to sort of give it another go and give it another try, but not make the other person wrong, not saying anything or insinuating that the other person has in any way done anything wrong. Because my concern is always about offending the other person. And yet to be able to do that dance of, well, no, that's not really it. And then giving it another go without charging it with any negativity or wrongness. I really, really felt that I could own that in this share. And it gives me more confidence in being able to, continue in my ability to communicate in a way that's just clearer and not charged in any way. Yeah.
Thanks, Francesca. So I'm going to ask now the trainers and trainees, but want to clarify, you all have the power to clarify and to feel fully heard. So thank you for that. Bill?
Sure. Well, I think I put in compassion today. And I just felt for the people in my group, tremendous compassion. It's not easy to do this in a certain sense, and you are making yourself vulnerable to strangers. And it takes a lot of courage. And I think that what I love about this is we are creating a mini culture of empathy in each of the breakout circles. And so that's the experience that I talked about. And so I'm really appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Timothy?
Yeah, gosh, a couple things to say. My experience in the small group, I was able to go deeply into the value of empathy. Not just how my values relate to empathy, but empathy as a human need and a value. And it was so rich for me to be heard and have that reflected so I could clarify that for myself. I'm realizing that in these circles, when somebody's hearing me, I'm actually hearing me. and usually I'll talk and I don't hear me. So to have that reflection helped me relax and get more clear about why empathy matters to me. And I just was savoring that when I can calm myself and quiet myself and give somebody else the moment, that's the phrase that came up. I give somebody else the moment. It has such an effect because that person will hear themselves. They calm down and we all calm down. So, and as a man, like talk about what is a gentleman? A gentleman. Well, a gentleman. What is gentleness? It's empathy, giving people space, calming down, so I'm thinking about being gentle and giving empathy. And so that feels really good to clarify that. And then the other thing that's happening right now is there's several baby spiders that hatched all around me, and I'm watching them build their webs all around me, 3 or 4 different baby spiders. And I figured out how they do it. They're not like Spider-Man, but they let little pieces of silk float through the air, and they wait for it to land somewhere, and then they climb, and they wait for another silk to float around. And it's so vulnerable. And it's like we live our lives, we put our silk out there looking for connection, looking to weave something, and we're just waiting. But here, and with an empathy circle, we put our silk out there and somebody catches it. And then we can build something together. So I'm learning from the little baby spiders around me right now that it's a little easier when somebody's there to catch you. And so thank you. I'm very grateful. Thanks.
Thank you, Timothy. That was awesome. Okay, Lala.
Such a beautiful imagery. Yeah, I think in the circle, it was really great today to really be able to observe and pay attention and to listen to others so that I can understand them, and then really appreciate everyone's individuality and draw inspiration from them as individuals, their experiences. So that's what I really appreciate about this the most. Again, attending this for the second time, it's nice to be able to find the sense of calmness in the circle, and not being distracted by my own thoughts or the stressors that's present in my day-to-day work life. So yeah, it's been really nice the past 2-3 hours.
Great, I'm glad to hear that. Thanks, Lala. Edwin?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this topic of talking about how empathy relates to our values and a culture of empathy. And because it's more than what we're doing here with the empathy circles is so much more than just this little practice that we're doing. This is just like a gateway practice, a really effective first step practice to this really larger cultural transformation. It's a whole way of being, and we're modeling it here. And I find the topic, we had so many different values come up: curiosity, authenticity, service, family, expression, mutuality, care, inclusion, self-expression, that came up, and many more. And I find it really helpful to have a map, sort of a mental map of how these values relate. Because when I go out and talk to people, it gives me a sort of an orientation that I already know, like if their value is care or family, I have sort of a map of how those values relate to empathy. And it really helps in terms of doing conflict mediation, talking to people out in society in general. So and that's why we're doing is the first exercise here, just to sort of ground us in the bigger picture. And it's going to really help in the next couple of sessions. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks, Edwin. I think I got everyone. So for my reflection, Elizabeth said it better than I could. I talked about authenticity, and like for me, I can't have an authentic connection in my real life without empathy. And so yeah, really grateful you're all here. I'm looking forward to the next 4 sessions, and I'm going to turn it over to Bill for the closing.
Great. So I'll talk about what's going to be happening, what's coming up next week. In the next session, we'll practice facilitating. You'll have a chance to facilitate an empathy circle. You'll want to get familiar with the how-to, because we'll be practicing that as well. The introduction and then the actual facilitation. The assignments, Edwin will send out an email on a reminder to fill out the session feedback survey, so we can kind of respond to those as we go along. And also you'll get a empathy buddy call. That's about 15 minutes each, about a half an hour. You can decide on the time where you're just kind of empathically listening to each other. it's really good as you go into this and start to facilitate that you do have empathy buddies and people you can, hey, I had a rough session today, or I had a great session. We're trying to build, connection. So that's the empathy buddy call. There's a web page that can explain it and be in the email. And yeah, and another option also, by the way, is to co-facilitate. So sometimes, you want somebody, or can you handle the time or whatever, and then somebody else is doing something else. So that's a way we can go. Also, I just wanted to ask the trainers if there's any kind of something you'd like to add.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Edwin.
Oh, yeah, just that we also have a little extra time. We have ending a little sooner than usual because it's a smaller group. So I thought we could also address any questions, for 5 minutes. And so the first one I did want to comment on was Francesca. You'd asked about what going deeper means. Part of going deeper is when listening to someone, and you might sense that they're feeling, you might hear what they're saying, and they don't say, hey, I feel frustrated or I feel angry. And you hear, they're saying, they're speaking, well, I had a really hard day and so forth. And you can make a guess like, oh, are you feeling frustrated? So you're seeing the feeling that's underneath. And you can also maybe relate that to the value that they have, like, oh, I'm needing connection, or I'm needing. So that's sort of part of seeing under the surface. Another question that came up in our group was, as a silent listener, do you have to sit stoically? It's like you can't move. You can react. And Dominique was saying, yeah, it's actually, I like to see if there's any sort of reaction from others. So it's not like you have to be, totally only focused on, you want to be present. You don't want to be, going off, doing other things, which is one of the challenges you'll get in the training with what do you do when people are holding up signs or jumping around and stuff. So you want to be present, but you do also want to share, be open and, transparent about any feelings that are arising. And in terms of the other question I heard was, as the speaker, you're the one that has the big job of making sure that you feel heard to your satisfaction. Like, there's nothing wrong in saying, I don't feel heard. You haven't got it. Let me try other words to say it in other words. You still haven't got it. Let me maybe express something deeper, be more articulate. Maybe I'm wanting to be heard for a feeling and I haven't expressed that feeling myself. I'm feeling frustrated, but I didn't say I'm feeling frustrated, or I feel ecstatic and I didn't share that. So it's really up to you. Just if you're saying, oh, I'm not really feeling heard in this circle, it's like, it's your job to feel heard to your satisfaction and just keep going at it until you feel like you're heard. So that was 3 questions that I just wanted to address, and maybe some more will come up because we have about 7 minutes. Yeah,
sure.
Timothy.
Yeah.
Just get...
Great. Yeah, before we answer any other questions, I just wanted us to look around the room. Hi, everybody. Maybe you could wave. We have a group here for these 5 weeks to help us grow and learn. And so I'm really curious to hear if any of you have an intention to try this. Maybe you want to try a small empathy circle in your family with a couple friends. Maybe there's a place at work where people are needing to hear each other. Are you interested in doing that? Or are you intending to do a little empathy buddy call, one-to-one? We will be pairing you. You'll see that in an email. But I'm wondering if any of you are actually intending to do that. I'm asking, what do you want to do this week to try? And it works out or doesn't, it's okay, because we have each other now for the next 5 weeks. So I'm just, what's one thing you might want to try and practice, even in your daily conversations? You don't want to do the buddy call. You don't want to have an empathy circle, I don't know, but is there one thing that you might want to practice this week? Then you can come back and let us know how it goes. And I don't necessarily need to hear from everybody, but maybe just to hear from a couple of you, what's one small thing you might want to practice?
Okay, I'm going to cut you off for a second. And certainly that's a rhetorical question. I wanted to add that, part of what's going on here is listening to yourself. Like it is, we do get insights to other people, but we also get insights into ourselves. And as you go into that, you kind of learn to listen to yourself. And the other thing about speaker and going deeper is that when I'm corrected, and this goes to kind of Francesca's issue, I don't feel criticized, actually. I feel like this person trusts me enough, and this is based on my experience, that I go deeper and I really form a much more, well, deeper connection, for lack of a better word. And I'll stop there. Certainly, I want to turn it over to Timothy's question, which is, and any other questions that you might have. There are assignments and things like that, but how does that affect you? Okay, so we'll kind of open it up. We have about 6 minutes left, so just to let you know. And just any comments, any other questions, or as Timothy said, any other things that you might want to try. And I see Francesca's chomping at the bit. Yes.
So yeah, Edwin, I really appreciated what you shared. And in terms of looking deeper, I actually felt I had that experience in the group, which was amazing. It just kind of, I felt it, so which is great, right? It's like, so what's behind the words? I kind of got that. And I really appreciated you saying about, it's okay to say, no, I don't feel like you're getting it. Let me give it like another shot here. I would be afraid of saying something like that being offensive or hurtful. But your invitation, or you're okay to be that forthright, again gives me another tool, another option as to how to respond in the moment. And the third question I have is, so we're all in this together for like 5 weeks. So all the facilitators, teachers, everybody's the same for the next. All the instructors are all the same for the next 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thumbs up. Okay, cool. I feel very well held then. So thank you for that. I'm really looking forward to the next 5 weeks. Oh, and I'm already practiced doing empathy with an acquaintance of mine, and it was really interesting. And I think I would like to do more of that, either one-on-one or probably one-on-one.
Great, thanks, Francesca. Anyone else? Elizabeth.
So I did a few empathy circles during the first training that I did, and I'm planning on trying, like I did 4 maybe, and they were all with different people. So now I think I'm going to see if I can get those same people to sort of switch it up and like have a few people that I know have done an empathy circle before, but they haven't done one with each other. So I'm going to try doing that. And I also need to try to remember to think about empathic listening in my regular conversations, because I think I sort of forget about it if I'm not actually in an empathy circle. So I'm going to work on remembering the things that I've learned and applying that to my regular life.
Great. Again, just to repeat, any questions or something you will apply, Timothy's question, to apply this week? Anything? Okay. All right. All right. If there's nothing for right now, that's fine too. By the way, silence is okay in an empathy circle. Sometimes, people feel in performance anxiety, and sometimes, hey, I'll sit with you for 5 minutes. That's okay. And that's okay too. Yeah. All right, and we got to do the jazz hands.
Before
Oh,
that,
before we finish.
Before the jazz hands.
One value, type post one feeling you have right now. I got
one feeling.
Growing, yeah.
Okay.
Post one feeling you're feeling as a result of being here today.
Great. So I see grateful, heard, intrigued, calm, hopeful. All right. Camaraderie. All right. Okay. I won't go through them all, but take a look at them. I think imagine how you felt 2 hours ago and how you're feeling now. And I'll let you decide. All right. Now, jazz hands.
Jazz hands, final portrait, jazz
Final
hands.
portrait. Okay,
And we'll
great.
see you next week. And if the trainees would stay back, appreciate that for debrief.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Oscar, good, nice jazz hands. I saw your jazz hands. Oscar, very unique, very cool.
Do you mind if we use the restroom real quick?